banshee, bean, brownie, changeling, elves, dryar, pixies, goblin, will-o'-the-wisp, nymphs and sprite, the fairy folk are cunning and bright. Oh, most magical creatures that only few will see. Some live in the waters, well, others in the trees. Some like to dance and others love to sing. But these beautiful people do most wondrous things. But beware, my friends, and heed this warning. Respect those fairies if they come a-calling, for to offend or disturb or to trespass could be your final act on earth, alas. Well, hello, and welcome to this latest edition of Mattanory. About to read you a tale, but walking in the woodland today, I've come across a fairy realm. Now this is a fairy door. Have to be very, very careful because obviously that last poem, I don't want to disturb them. So if you see anything pop out, you will let me know, won't you? Because there could be trouble, but hopefully I'm respectful enough as it is and I'll get away with this one, but you never know. This is called Goblin Coombe. It was a warm and sunny spring morning at Easter time, and a group of children went out to pick primroses. One little 3-year-old girl wandered away all by herself, distracted by all the flowers that she could gather from around her. She went to the banks on the ground and followed her nose right down to Goblin Coombe. And being so little, she didn't know any better, of course, and she didn't know of the place's reputation. When the little one looked up and realised that nothing around her was familiar and she was lost, she burst into tears, and the tears ran down her little face and onto her little pinafore. She'd been collecting primroses with her friends and she still had them in her hand. So she put them down on a rock and sat down on the ground with her back against it and sobbed and sobbed, scared of being alone, filling the air with her 3-year-old's inconsolable grief. She didn't know about Goblin Coombe, so she didn't know that that rock was an entrance to the fairy realm, and that primroses were the way in. The rock opened up, and there were all the little people rushing about, and they comforted her. They could see that she was an innocent and hadn't meant to disturb them, so they gave her a ball made of pure gold to play with, and danced and sang that she quite forgot herself and forgot that she was so lost. And then she started to smile, and then to chuckle, and then to laugh, and then eventually dance and sing with them. The trouble is, when you're in the fairy world, what seems like moments are actually hours, and hours can seem like days to the real world. And the hours did fly by. She was full of curiosity and merriment. But in time, not even the most determined 3-year-old can stay awake. And so the fairies put the bunch of primroses back in her sleeping little fist and transported her safely home. Now, whilst all this was happening, her parents were really worried about what was going on. It was getting dark. Where was she? But then they found her sleeping soundly in bed, with the primroses and the golden ball beside her, all safe on the pillow. Soon the little one woke up and told her parents the story, and it became a bit of a legend and the wonder of the whole village. Everyone talked about it for weeks. Thing is, as in lots of stories, there was a ne'er-do-well. He lived in the village, but he was the kind of man that knew it all and wanted it all and felt that the world owed him a favour. He told everybody how he knew about the fairies and knew it all and done this and done that. You know the kind of person I'm talking about. But greed was deep inside this man, and he fancied getting himself a golden ball or two, all for himself. Everyone in the village told him it was such a bad idea, and he shouldn't go down to Goblin Cove looking for fairies because of the dangers of disturbing them. But he knew better. He knew it was a good idea, and he seemed more and more determined to do it the more the villagers told him what a bad idea it was. So, as he was walking down, he just grabbed a big pile of primroses from the side without care or attention, and he went down to Goblin Cove. The thing was, all the way, the pathway seemed to be blocked, and his way seemed to be hindered at all times. There was fallen branches and bracken and holes in the ground, and there seemed to be some strange, dark, foreboding noises coming up. But he was more determined than the other. The greed grew in his belly and kind of seduced him. After all, he knew what he was doing. He knew where to go, and he had his primroses ready. As he approached Goblin Cove and noticed the rock, he placed the primroses down on the rock and stood proudly waiting. Well, it wasn't the right day, and he wasn't the right one, and he didn't pick the right number of primroses. And as soon as the flowers touched the rock opened up, and a black-clad arm reached out and picked him up by the scruff of the neck and dragged him inside. The rock closed with a crack, and you know what? He was never seen again.